Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? Let's call it afternoon, shall we? Certainly, in my neck of the woods, it is, and in most people's neck of the woods, whichever way you say that, it will be afternoon. Given that most of our subscribers are in Singapore, where you're having a wonderful holiday, as I understand it, and for that reason, there will actually be no show today. Ash and I having the day off. I think Ash was just going to pop in and say g'day and let us know if he's looking to trade the footsie at all. I'm just going to briefly go through a couple of crosses, in particular the majors, to give you an idea of where I'm at as the week begins. But thereafter, we will be closing the show and not trading, personally, not trading for the rest of the day. Looking at the Aussie dollar first up, and the Aussie dollar's in the news, of course, because we had a federal election here over the weekend. And as I said on Thursday, as I believed on Thursday, the only thing that could make the Aussie rally at the moment would be if the government retained their office. And they did, surprisingly. So we still have a Liberal government here in Australia, and conservative for some people, if you want to call it that. And it was widely expected that that wouldn't be the case, and we would have a Labor government at this point in time. Now, the interesting part about that, of course, is that the market did, in fact, rally. The Aussie dollar and the Aussie against most of the currencies rallied on the back of that news. And as you can see, we've now come back to retest the bottom of the broken channel and, of course, the weekly pivot. Now, I can't see for the life of me why we would be looking to buy the Aussie on the back of no change at the end of the day. But here's how that works, of course. If we go back to, let's use the 4-hour chart. If we go back to where the election was announced, which is around about 5-6 weeks ago from my memory, that would put us around here somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in this area. And you can see that the Aussie versus the dollar had sold off ever since that announcement was made. And that, in my opinion, was on the back of the tip that the Labor Party would win the election. And of course, the market doesn't like the Labor Party winning the election here in Australia because they're deemed to be unfit money managers. Well, I'll leave that up to other commentators, but that's not for me to decide. The interesting part, of course, is that now we don't have that situation. How far can we retrace on that news? So what is the real value of the Aussie dollar at the moment, I guess, is the question. Again, I go back to, well, nothing's really changed, has it? But you've got to take into consideration that we have been selling off in anticipation of a Labor government. So the question mark is really a good one and a valid one. And really, at the end of the day, I can't answer that question right now because I don't know. All I can do is put 2 and 2 together and probably come up with 3 at the moment because, as I say, we've sold off since the Labor was supposed to win. Labor didn't win, but guess what? Really, nothing's changed in Australia. So technically, where are we looking? I guess up here somewhere, maybe to the top of the channel if we can go that far. But again, everything else with the Australian dollar at the moment is pointing downward. Fundamentally, it's a shot duck. So it's really tough to be trading along here, I've got to say. Need some compelling evidence to suggest that that can be the case. And really, with the gap in the market, this is something that I just don't need to touch right now. If you've got the opinion that the Liberal government is still in and nothing has changed, I can definitely see why you'd be wanting to sell the Aussie off. But as I said, when the election was called, we started selling the Aussie off, whether that's just because we were looking for a Labor government. Nothing else is, of course, debatable, but in my humble opinion, it's got a lot to do with it. So how far we get back now that we don't have a Labor government is a great question. So I'm just going to leave that one where it is. Hey, Ash, how you doing, bud?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Oh, look, having a wonderful time here. As always on Monday.
Is things quiet?
Yeah, look, things have quietened down since Saturday. Of course, there was a big hullabaloo when, and yesterday, of course, with the wash up of the election.
Yeah.
Everyone scratching their head saying, WTF, how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Australian politics, but from what I gather, just speaking to Mikey, I've been with Mikey the last few days. It seemed that everybody was predicting that the Labour Party was going to get in. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was saying that last week, and I also said the only thing that could rally the Aussie dollar would be a Liberal government, Liberal retaining their government and retaining the seat. And that's exactly what happened, of course.
Yeah.
But and as I was just saying to the troops, the question now remains: how much of a Labor win has been factored into all of this sell-off that we've seen since the election was announced back here?
Yeah.
And that now becomes the question. Okay, it didn't happen. How much of that can we raise, and how far can this thing rally?
Yeah.
Against all of the other fundamental things that are working against the Aussie, of course, and again, bad employment numbers last week, the threat that will force the RBA to cut rates in 2 weeks' time. It really doesn't look great for the Aussie versus the US dollar, I'd have to say. And to balance that out is quite a feat. So I don't know how far this can rally and where to look for shorts, to be frank. But
I mean, is that really what we're waiting for? Then we're looking for this rally as a selling opportunity.
Oh, I think so. I can't see anything but that. But where it's, how much of this is all to do with a Labor government being factored in, and how much can be erased is the real question. I think we've probably got to wait till it actually turns, and then look to buy the second rally, if you like, to sell the second rally rather than this first one, because this is guesswork at the moment, really, for me.
I agree. I think there's certain levels that you could probably pick out and look for potential turning areas, but it needs something to suggest that that the move to the upside is over, doesn't it? I mean, at the minute, this looks like a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, and looking at some of these, when I'm kind of, I'll just have a quick squint through these charts as well.
Yeah, look, it is a knee-jerk reaction, but it's also, a correction on what we were anticipating. So that's where it becomes difficult to predict where the turnaround point is.
I mean, when I look at the Aussie dollar, obvious areas to the high side would be if it got back up to this area here, and I don't know how long it would need to take. I don't know what the other technical levels would be. In actual fact, when I look at this on a fib, if this is still going to remain in the downtrend, the 0.7072 looks pretty good.
Yeah, look, there's a couple of levels there. There's one around about 70.45-ish, and as you said, it's in that vicinity somewhere between 70.45 and maybe 70. Where's the monthly pivot? 70.80. So it's probably that the most obvious point is there. Can we trade it to there? Gee whiz, you want to be brave, I reckon, at the moment.
What, trading it to the upside there?
Yeah. It's because fundamentally everything is against it. Absolutely, everything's against it.
Maybe even 7,000 actually. 0.7,000 flat would be a pretty good area to aim for.
Yeah, I wouldn't think we'd be the only people thinking that's a decent level to short the Aussie.
Yeah. Are there any pivots there?
At 7.0? Not at the moment, no.
Okay, so maybe looking into next week. I don't know as well.
Weekly pivots there.
The weekly pivots there, so it would have to get up there in the next few days to suggest that could be some area of reversal. But
there's a confluence area there as well at the 23rd. So that is on Thursday.
Okay, that
looks a reasonable level, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's only Monday, isn't it? So maybe that's where we're looking. If we're looking at maybe Thursday, Friday, we'll have a look at some data points in a little while. I've got interestingly, FTSE, I am very much a bear on, so I'm looking for short stocks, or short the indice. and it's at a really good level, really good price to try and take the trade on. I'll quickly go through that, unless you've got more to add, mate.
No, mate, I only want to look at the euro, the pound, and pretty much Aussie yen and Aussie CAD. I think they're probably good sells at some stage.
Have we looked at those?
Sorry?
Have we looked at those yet? Have you looked at those?
No, not yet. Not yet. But you have a look at the FTSE.
Okay.
Very interested in the yen at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that might actually aid the analysis on this. What I've got with the FTSE is really I'm starting out with a monthly, because this is a lower low, and the question is, does this become the area for the lower high? And it looks like a pretty good shout. I think it's got a pretty good shout of being the lower high. What I was going to mention with the Aussie is I don't know seasonally whether we're heading into a weaker area with the Aussie, you know, when it comes into June. Certainly with
I think so, but you know, I'm no seasonal expert, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean the FTSE, we're looking at June. June is a really weak month statistically for the FTSE, and we're what 10 days away, you know, minus a couple of weekend days as well. So we're looking at 8 days, really, eight days, and the FTSE really is potentially looking like it's going to be under stress on the seasonal aspect. We still have this hangover going on with China. We've got China potentially starting to put tariffs on June the 1st on the United States. So that's really kind of coming up as well. There's probably going to be kind of retaliation if they were to do that, or certainly some talk of retaliation if they were to do that. So it looks like a good area for me. And, you know, it's possible that this could be a shade early, but I'd prefer to start looking for trades in this area rather than miss the trade altogether. It's going to be here, or it's going to be here. So we're probably within 100 pips, I would say, 120 or pips of the entry. Now, when we sort of start to break it down, the daily's already finding this level of resistance. You know, there was a head and shoulders pattern here. We flipped down once. You know, that resistance held. So that previous support came down, became resistance. We're really back at that resistance point now. Hanging man on Friday. And now we're looking at the 4-hour chart. We've got this high test bar on the 4-hour chart, or certainly a doji, which is looking more negative than positive. So where dojis would certainly indicate indecision. So we might be waiting for one more bar. It looks like it's in a decent enough area to suggest that we should be getting fairly keen on the short. I would suggest the easiest thing to do would be wait for this trend line to break down on these shorter term time frames. So we're looking at this 15 here, and it's still, price action is still holding this level. So if price action comes beneath 73.30, closes beneath this 73.30 level, then I'll be taking the shorts. That's the idea. That's going to be the plan. So, and you know, it's all then going to come down to whether the trade management that I employ would be one that would try and stay in the trade as long as possible, because we have those monthly chart elements to the picture, or whether I try and step in and out of the market as it goes down, you know, or if it does start to come down, I should say. Do I step in and out, or do I maybe try and keep one long position, one position left in the market for a longer period, and then add some other positions as the market does start to go in my favor, if that's to be the case. That would be my preference, is to try and leave things where they are, and just try and add if things are, if I'm right on it, I'd like to add, you know, as we get through June, I'd like to start adding to the position if this does start to break down. So that's the plan, mate.
Cool, mate. Donald?
Donald's been quiet, hasn't he?
No.
Oh, brilliant. Go on,
can you see that?
Let me have a look.
Oh, hang on. Oh,
okay, no, what's that say? If Iran wants to fight, that will be the official end of Iran. Never threaten the United States again.
So I don't know what the flip side of that is. I've got no idea what Iran has said, but that's what he's tweeted overnight.
I don't know what they said, but I do know that they're ignoring the embargo that the United States have put on them. You know, I know that they're sort of effectively trying to get their ships through. Let's have a quick check on oil, because that's the one that will move.
Yeah, and you've also got, I mean, I've only read the headlines because I've no intention of trading today. Saudi says doesn't want Iran war, but will something else. And China backs Iran over nuclear intentions. They're all great headlines.
So basically, all of this stuff is going to be another another area that that China and the United States can be at loggerheads again.
Yeah, Saudi.
I mean, isn't it interesting that you know throughout the 80s we had the Cold War, and America were fighting the Russians, and now they've effectively got another foe. You know, they sort of they've almost the Russians are always going to be there as the foe of America, but they are so economically hampered and weakened that they stop becoming so relevant. But when it comes down to China, they're taking on a seismic superpower that you know potentially could actually be a bigger superpower than America itself. So I'm not sure what that's going to do to oil. I mean, my first impression would be that we're going to see an oil flip to the upside. We do seem to be quite...
Yeah, that's kind of my gut reaction. My other gut reaction is to look at the yen.
Yeah,
start trading the yen.
Interesting. We've had Japanese numbers today, haven't we? Have we checked the Forex Factory?
Mate, I haven't. No, because as I said, I have no intention of trading today, and we're only here for a little bit. So I thought, no, I won't even bother. So, but no idea what's going on.
Okay, let's have a look. Because in my early morning stupor, I was hearing some numbers from Japan. Preliminary GDP quarter on quarter was in positive, even though they were forecasting for negative. That the previous was 0.5% increase, and this was a 0.5% increase. So I'm not sure why they were forecasting such a low number there.
Don't know.
Revised industrial production was a slight beat as well. We got German PPIs. I mean, all of these are soft numbers, so they're not incredibly important by the looks of this or the read of this, but decent numbers from Japan. So that would suggest that that would give the Japanese currency, the yen, just a little bit of a boost. And you know, if we've got this unease in the world, then maybe that's going to suggest some further. Now we got the dollar yen at a low with, I don't know which chart we're on right now. Whose screen we're on? I think we're on mine, aren't we?
It's changing every time we talk. Now we got.
Yeah, so this weekly level here would suggest that that we are on a level of support for the dollar yen. Let's just have a look at the other charts there and just see what they are suggesting. Yeah, that was the entry. That should have been the entry down there. Interesting, actually. No, that was Friday. So we've had an entry Friday, but just a little bit of weakness starting to step in. Now, looking at this 4-hour chart, we are at an area of resistance here. So it's possible that looking at some of these shorter term charts, that there is an entry for a bit of dollar weakness and an entry for the downside. That's the way that I'd be looking at this right now. Mate, I don't know what you're thinking, but it looks to me like we may well have a bit of a sell-off, certainly in the early part of the day here.
Yeah, can't find a fan for dollar yen to in the buying stake, so I guess it's under pressure as well. I'd have to agree with what you're saying. It's not my favourite pair, though. I think Aussie yen is, and that's the one I'll be looking to trade for the week. Again, not now, but you know, come Thursday-ish, Wednesday, Thursday, I think I'll be looking to actually sell Aussie yen if I can find an entry. Same with Aussie CAD. I think oil is going to challenge the highs by the look of what I'm seeing, and all of that rhetoric that we've just mentioned. If that continues in the vein, I can see oil prices going up, and I can see the CAD benefiting on that. CAD's also had some good news with again with Donald, who has removed the tariffs on steel and aluminium in Canada. That can't hurt the CAD either. So yeah, I'm bullish CAD against the Aussie. In other words, Aussie CAD short.
Yeah.
And Aussie yen short, Aussie CAD short, Aussie short, The only two that remain for me really are euro and pound. And gee whiz, they've copped a hiding as well. Last week in particular, that they really put the boot into the pound, and the euro wasn't far behind it. The pound is under extreme pressure, but there is a little bit of support around where we are. So maybe there's a bounce. I don't know. I'll have to wait and see on both those pairs. You would think that the pound has to find support at some stage. It has just been really waterfalling badly, down 460 odd pips in the last 2 weeks alone. So it's not having a happy time at all. And of course, that I guess is not going to change too fast in terms of if it's Brexit that is driving it, and it seems to be that last week where the talks between Theresa and what's his face, Corbyn.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems to have been a not well received outcome for the pound, and it's just free falling, really free falling. So hard to be thinking anything but stay out of that one. To be fair, there's a big inverted head and shoulders forming on the weekly chart. I've got my eye on that, and it's at a good support level. So I'd be expecting a bounce there.
Yeah,
but where to? And when? Timing's going to be everything with that one.
Well, there's a little headline here that says May proposing new bold, putting forward a new bold proposal. Just to paraphrase it a little bit, but I haven't read any detail on that proposal. Yeah, I'm just looking down. I don't see anything that kind of puts any meat on the bone for that, actually. So I'm not sure. All we really have is we're going to have the results of the European elections coming up.
Yep.
And the results look like they are going to be the Brexit party, which is Nigel Farage's party, that he's very much into leaving the European Union. Looks like they may win according to the polls. Looks like the Liberal Democrats, which are very much a Remain party, strong Remain party, looks like they will be second. The Greens may be third. I think Labour, or maybe Labour third. The Greens look like they're going to be fourth, with the Tories look like they're going to be fifth. So they've been pushed right back. And I don't know whether you could get much of a read on it when you've got a really strong Brexit party winning and a really strong Remain party coming second. I think it's going to depend on the margin between the two of them. The slight problem with the Remain parties is that they've really kind of marginalised their vote by having too many parties. They would have been better off, which they did try, but they've been better off kind of coming together and having one push for, and allocating MPs between them, and effectively supporting each other's MPs, MEPs I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That'd have been a much better idea, but they didn't end up managing to get that deal done. So it's difficult to read what the state of the mood in the country is, even though the Brexit party, are likely to win. I think what we really need to see is what's the numbers between their win and the Liberal Democrat and Greens win combined, because they may well lose MPs with the fact that they've split the vote. But it might show us a little bit about the sentiment in the country. If, I don't know, let's say there's 30,000 votes for the Liberal Democrats and then 20,000 for the Greens and then only 40,000 for Nigel Farage, even though he's going to win those seats, it might show that there's slightly more support for remaining throughout the country than not. But also what it's showing is that there's absolutely no appetite for the Conservatives, who seem to be a Brexit party, but don't seem to be able to put it together. And and the Labour Party, who nobody really knows which way that they are facing right now. So we'll get a read on Thursday, but I don't think it will change too much in the way of what's going to happen in Westminster. Theresa May's going to bring her deal forward again. You have to wonder when she's going to eventually vacate that job. She's so unbelievably belligerent. I'm surprised that she's got the barefaced audacity, to be quite frank, that to remain in a job that nobody seems to want her in. Her party don't want her in it. The country don't appear to want her in it, as they lose councillors and they lose MEPs. So it's just such an audacious thing to do, I mean, she's supposedly got a sense of duty, and that's why she's going to stay there until she gets the Brexit deal through. But surely it's also her duty to listen and to say...
well, yes, you would think. It does appear that she's just got a one-track mind, and she's got blinkers on, and nothing's going to change what she's says sort of about doing. She can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and nothing's going to stop her getting there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except she won't.
No, she won't get there. No. There's too many issues in Northern Ireland as well. The backstop issue is still very, very prevalent. So it doesn't look to me like that's changing anytime soon, and it will just put the pound under increased pressure. It just what's going to give the pound any kind of support? I mean, we've seen the euro against the pound effectively go all the way in the last 2 weeks from pretty much 0.850 right the way up to now 0.876. I mean, it's just it was a crazy move in the euro pound, over 200 pips, 280 pips or something over the last 2 weeks. Yes, we're at another level of resistance, but there's every chance now that we come back to the first line of support on the weekly chart and just springboard from there forward, because I don't see what is going to give the pound any kind of support.
Apart from technically, I don't either, mate, and we are at a technical support level, I'd have to say that.
Yeah.
Now, we have opened the session. I don't think we're going to hang around too much longer, but we do have a question. Hi, Mohammed. How you doing, mate? And his question is for you. Can you see the...
No, mate, I can't see the box, mate. You tell me.
The question is, Ash, are you planning to go short FTSE because of the high ring pattern?
That's not the reason, but let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that. I am planning to go short FTSE. Okay. High ring pattern, and I'm presuming he's talking about the...
Don't know which chart hasn't put it there.
Are you looking at the daily, Mohammed, or... The reason I'll go through the reasons that why I'm looking at short FTSE. I mean, the pattern isn't really playing a part for me. The pattern's about when. It's not about if. So there's no if for me. I am going to go short the FTSE. I've got no confidence in the long, and I'm just waiting for just a way to get in, and I'll show you how I'm going to get in a second.
Daily, mate, by the way.
The daily, okay. Yeah, I mean, we need a third bar here. Well, in fact, you might be looking at the UK 100. In fact, you would be, wouldn't you? So let me just see that on the other charts. Yeah, UK 100. That is pretty similar. Similar enough for me to be able to stay on this futures chart. Okay, so the reason I'm going short FTSE is because as soon as I get to the monthly, I've got a potentially the start of a trend to the downside. Now I've got this high and this low. So I've got the low here, high there. Now I've got a lower low. So I'm looking for a lower high, and I'm looking to try and get in on the lower high. Now the reason that needs confirming that we get the lower high is we might get something like this. Yeah, we might get something like this, where you get the high, you get the lower low, you get the lower high, you get a lower low, and then all of a sudden it starts to pop up. Maybe this is a better example, actually. Better example here. So you get this, the market starts to strengthen. Looks like there's some support here. That's where it seemed to bounce from. But then we get the lower low. But because there was no lower high, the trend to the downside wasn't really in action. So I would have been looking short there, but there was no confirmation. So all I'm really looking for now is some confirmation that this should be a short that we're looking for. Now I'm going to get that on the shorter term timeframes for sure. The weekly's not so impressive as a signal, but when I look at the daily, I've got this level of support here. Market comes up, comes back, supports and bounces away. It comes down, comes up, resists and bounces away. So really, because that was my most recent level of resistance, you could argue here, but that one's much better because it's also got a level of support. Then that looks like this looks like a really good area to take the short in. So then it's just going to be about the trigger for me. So I'm not worried right now about the patterns. The fact that I've got a daily hanging man, yes, that helps. That does help. But the hanging man itself is not really a clear signal. You know, really you need, you know, traditionally, if you like, you'd need some confirmation on a hanging man. It doesn't really sort of tell you a lot, because some people will read this as bullish and some bearish. The fact that it's right on resistance gives us context. So we're going to give it a bearish. This is the hanging man here. Let me just blow this chart up. This is the hanging man right here. So because of that, you know, I'm going to give it a bearish bias because of where we sit, because we're, you know, what we're sitting on is a fairly decent level of resistance. Now I need a way to get in, and what I want to see on the shorter term time frames is something that looks like a break of a trend line or a lower high. Haven't got it yet on the. This was a possibility. Here on the hourly, comes down, gives us a lower high, comes down, but it didn't fall away. So as soon as the trend changed, then there's not an opportunity there anymore. So now I'm going to my 15 just to get my lines nice and tight. But now what I want to see is this breakdown on the hourly. If it breaks through and holds, so if it breaks and closes below this level on the hourly, then I'm all over the shorts. Not going to be too worried about price, because I think looking at the monthly chart, it looks like I'm at a fairly decent level wherever I get in here. So so that's why. That's why it's not so much any chart patterns, except for the level of resistance on the monthly and level of resistance on the daily with a hanging man. So I'm just waiting for these shorter term timeframes to break down, and then I'm interested.
All right, happy days.
Does that explain it, Mohammed? You might have to post it in and Jeff will check for me. But if that explains it, then that's cool. Yeah, all good?
Yeah, Mohammed's saying, so basically support and resistance, which we always look out for.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, isn't it? I mean, you know, we can color it whichever way we want, but ultimately, yeah, that's the game. Look for areas of support and resistance, and look for evidence it's going to change. And I've got my area of support and resistance. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not just going short because the chart is telling me to go short. I've got fundamental sentiment on this as well. You know, I'm considering the fact that June is a weak month, and we're coming into June pretty soon. So at some point, I want to go short in the next week or two. Regardless, and also I've got the fact that China are about to slap some tariffs on America in the next 2 weeks as well. So, you know, I've got a fundamental reason to go short first and foremost. Then I need my technical reason to go short. I've got an area of resistance. Then I need my setup to go short, which I haven't yet got. But as soon as that kicks in, then I'm all over it.
Okie dokie. All right, guys. I think just in summary for me today, it is Aussie and Kiwi short against the yen and the CAD, but wait, it may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow. In fact, we might be looking at Wednesday or Thursday before that happens. Other than that, tough to see the pound going anywhere long, but again, it's at a support level, so wait for that to bounce and look for shorts off the rallies. That's kind of where I'm at, I think. Euro, I'm not so sure on yet. I'll make a call on that tomorrow. So that's where I'm at, mate. And it is a holiday in Singapore, so you guys better go and enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing to do is if you've got if you've got an alert set up on your phone.
Lost you, Ash.
Oh, you lost me? Am I back?
So I will leave it to you to wrap up. I guess it's my audio gone. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still on, I think, mate. Let me just message Jeff. Right. I'll send a message to Jeff. Just very, very quickly. What you guys need to do is just set an alert. So when you set your notifications, just put in that you've got a price that you want to get in at. You want to be alerted to on your phone, and when that bleeps, just come back to it. And I'd say the price on the FTSE futures is going to be somewhere around about 73.30. So on the spot is somewhere around about 73.45 or 48. Put an alert at that level and have a look at the chart and then see if you want to go short. Okay, cool. All right, so I think we're closing up. Jeff's got kicked out, so we're going to close up. We'll be back tomorrow anyway. Actually, I'm flying tomorrow. So I'll be back with you Wednesday. All right, I might see some of you tonight as well. We've got a little meet up tonight, so I might see some of you tonight. But for the rest of you, I will speak to you Thursday, same trade time, same trade channel. Have a good afternoon, guys.